welcome back to another episode of the Main Quest podcast. As always, I am your host, Keith, and we're diving into another side quest episode. This is the second part of my retrospective on Sega's 4th generation hardware. That's a mouthful. In part 1, I covered Sega's history from the beginnings all the way around to 1995. It is basically a crash course of the company. It is a history lesson, first and foremost. So if you are the type of person that skips straight to the reviews and all the video game stuff every episode of this program, that first part might not be for you. Especially if you weren't a Sega kid. Even if you weren't a Sega kid, I still think there's going to be some stuff in there that I think you will genuinely appreciate. But we're still talking about Sega for at least the next, 35 minutes or so. So if you're not a Sega kid, or maybe more accurately a Sega adult now, I don't know why you're here. But please, by all means, stay. I still love you. And let me tell you about some great 4th gen Sega games. Did I even say what this episode was about? I didn't even intro it correctly. What am I doing? Why does anybody come here? This episode is my personal top 10 Sega games from the 4th generation. That includes the Sega CD and the 32X. But this list is only going to contain games that I have covered on the show. So it's a mix of games that I love and episodes that I had a great time making. So, I guess spoiler alert for the rest of the episode. Most of the games I have on this list had guests on the episode, so I guess while you'll know exactly how I feel about the games, you might not remember how the guest felt, or maybe you don't know, which means there's still a mystery out there. Probably. Anyway, before we get into this, I gotta plug you guys up. The Main Quest is listener supported through Patreon. You can sign up at patreon.com/themainquest. Tiers start at just $1, and that gets you uncensored, ad-free episodes a week early, written reviews, polls, and behind-the-scenes stuff. And at $3, you get all of that, plus exclusive episodes, side shows, and a virtual fist bump. The type of fist bump that says, yeah, we've both made questionable decisions with our money. And if you're not into subscriptions, God knows I'm starting to fall out of love with them, and you still want to support the show, you can grab some merch and look fly as hell. I can't guarantee a Main Quest t-shirt is going to get you laid, but if it ends up on somebody's bedroom floor, mission accomplished. Congrats on your friendship. Just remember the shirt only does about half the work. But hey, maybe you just want a magnet or something, or a sticker. Live your life. Links to the Patreon and the merch store are in the show notes. With that said, let's roll the end credits on my time with the 4th generation of Sega games. One more thing before I start flying off the handle here. Especially since this is going on to the main feed. This is my list. And again, it is a list solely based on the games that I have covered on the program. So let's kick off with number 10 here, with Knuckles Chaotix. Yeah, it's a bad game. What of it? Let's fight. I am fascinated by how completely broken this game is. It doesn't work, but sometimes when it does click, it's pretty fun. And visually speaking, it's stunning. Vibrant colors, awesome if underutilized sprites, and the idea of expanding the Sonic universe is really cool on paper. It's good stuff. The Chaotix themselves, I don't know. I guess they've never been cool, but at least Sega was trying something new. And the rubber banding mechanic is weird, but it's a refreshing twist on the momentum-based mechanics of Sonic that have been established prior to this. And when it works, again, slinging your characters around is a lot of fun, but most of the time it doesn't work. Unless you're really using very specific characters. The level design here is a nightmare too. It's a mess. It's a mess, and I love it for that, I guess. What isn't messy though is the soundtrack. I mean, this is like a top tier soundtrack. Like, I would say best in the franchise type of good. And the bonus stages, incredible. I mean, they kind of expand on the idea of Sonic 2's half pipes and kind of turn them into something a little more explorable and are actually fun. And I think if you go back and listen to my episode on Knuckles Chaotix, all three of us agreed that should have just been the game instead of all the other stuff that they put in here. But yeah, Knuckles Chaotix, it's at the bottom of the list for a reason. I hated it as a kid. I even said as much on that episode. And now it's kind of a guilty pleasure. I guess that's that thing that people call character growth, right? Next on the list is Disney's Aladdin. At the number 9 spot. Aladdin is not on this list because it's brilliant or anything. But I feel like it's here because everything else I could have picked in its place would have been a war crime. And yet, like, there's nothing wrong with this game. It's actually pretty good. Actually, it's really good. But, like, to me, it feels like it's a little incomplete. Like, the back half feels like it rushes through the story like Virgin Interactive hit, like, the fast forward button on development. Like, I don't know, it just feels weird for a game that was an adaptation of something that had already existed. But as the game goes, I mean, it plays great. The feedback loop is solid. And it kind of predicted the modern collectathon mechanics, except like the stuff in Aladdin actually matters. It's not about making just a number go up. The movement feels pretty unique without being like super janky or anything like that, which is kind of a rarity for its time. And I think it gets bonus points for that because it doesn't try to be Mario in an era when everything was trying to be Mario, and they were also very bad at it. But the game looks great, and it sounds fine. I'm personally not like a huge fan of the soundtrack, but it actually sounds good as far as like the quality goes. I think if you like the score for the movie Aladdin, you're definitely going to vibe with it. And at least they got the music right? Like most video game adaptations of like TV and movies didn't even bother to get, I guess, licensing rights to these video games or to these movies or whatever you want to say. But hey, Aladdin's here. It's on the list. In the number 8 spot, I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Hyperstone Heist. And this is a pick it's really gonna leave Nintendo fans shook. And actually similar to Aladdin, I mean, this one does kind of feel unfinished as well. Is it? Definitely feels rushed. But I think overall, and this is of course my opinion, I think it's a much better overall package than Aladdin is. Mostly because this is Konami. And Konami knew exactly what they were doing. Hyperstone Heist is such a tight, nice little package. It plays better than 90% of the beat-em-ups from this era. Sure, the combat and the weapon abilities aren't that deep, right? The turtles don't have fancy power-ups. They don't really have distinct movesets. But what it lacks in that stuff, they make up in enemy variety, right? They really mix it up. And the stages are well paced. And I even like how the pacing of the stages and how they're laid out kind of suggest a narrative. And I appreciated that. Visually, this is among the best looking games on the Genesis. It looks incredibly crisp, incredibly detailed. Stages are fantastic looking. The soundtrack that is just like, it's a cherry on top. Is it better than Turtles in Time? I don't know. Not really. But also, when you think about it, they're not even comparable when you are actually playing them. Hyperstone Heist feels like its own thing. I think the real hot take here is that I think Hyperstone Heist is better than Streets of Rage 2.
Shell shock!
And now we can really fight. Can fight with nunchucks and crowbars. But at least we can share some barrel chicken, right? Or some pizza? Barrel chicken and pizza.
Do your podcast feel underleveled? Sick of content that doesn't overclock your ear holes? Crack open a cold can of Hell Piss Zero Mercy. It might sound like an energy drink, but it's actually the Main Quest Patreon attacking your nervous system. For less than the cost of a loose copy of Perfect Weapon, you'll get bonus episodes recorded in an abandoned KB Toys. Early access to episodes before you even know you want them. Listen as your host Keith researches and revisits and re-evaluates retro games with a mix of sarcasm, sincerity, and that thing scientists call good podcasting.
No actual scientists are consulted in the making of this podcast. Good podcasting is not a medically recognized condition, and any resemblance to sincere analysis is purely coincidental.
We gave the Main Quest Patreon to a test group. We're still sorting out the consequences.
Ever since I joined the Patreon for the Main Quest podcast, Keith has unleashed the beast in me. Ever since the Primal Rage episode, I now go to random children's birthday parties in an inflatable T-Rex costume to brighten their day. And if I sit here, it's mom.
The Patreon gave me emotions. I do not want them. Please kill me. It's okay to like a video game.
Join that before the algorithm bans it for being too powerful. Link in the show notes. Or scrawl Main Quest in blood on your nearest Wii U gamepad and whisper Keith 3 times into the mic.
Hell Piss trademark has not been evaluated, approved, or acknowledged by any real government agency. Side effects may include stick drift, polygonal hallucinations, involuntary bricking, aggressive XP drip, LAN party flashbacks, emotional damage caused by hot takes, spontaneous quick time events, and a strong desire to rank every Gex game. Do not consume if you are pregnant, wear deodorant, or currently dating. Contact Dr. Mario if symptoms persist. May permanently overwrite your taste profile. Void where prohibited.
At my number 7 is Toe Jam and Earl. And I don't know why more people don't talk about Toe Jam and Earl. Or when they're talking about some of the best roguelikes out there, Toe Jam and Earl's never really brought up in the discussion. And I think maybe because modern roguelikes are more action focused, with emphasis on grinding for unlocks. I feel like a lot of roguelikes today are designed to keep players on the hook by hiding mechanics behind dozens of runs. New players will think that they're actually getting better at the game, but mostly you're just being drip-fed upgrades that were intentionally withheld to begin with. So it kind of feels like progress through restriction. And for whatever reason, people tend to call that good game design. And don't get me wrong, Toe Jam and Earl has some of those aspects. Temporary power-ups, a lot of the stuff is randomized, unpredictable level layouts, but at its core, it is basically just a very chill roguelike game. You're just trying to reassemble your busted spaceship one funky level at a time and get off of Earth. And those status effects, they're pretty punishing, but they're loaded with a ton of charm. You know, whether or not you're just bouncing around uncontrollably or you're just suddenly breakdancing for a couple minutes against your will. The way the game sells these moments with all of these really like lovingly crafted animations is it's really great. You can't help but like laugh throughout like the entire playthrough. It's so cool. And visually and sonically, I mean, this game, it is 90s as fuck. It's like perfectly centered in that space where like the late 80s hadn't quite let go yet. And there was like this like neon optimism, right? Still like coming through like the little bit of the grunge era as it was starting. It's like this perfect time capsule, but it's still like really fun to go back and play. Also, it's co-op. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. So this is something that you can make like a great Friday night out of. Have like a drink and a friend over. And yeah. Now, with everything that's going on, if only I could escape this planet in real life. But unfortunately, I'm stuck here with the rest of you guys in a place that may as well be called Outworld.
Feel the power of
Because my number 6 is Mortal Kombat 2. And this is where the list begins to get very serious. These are heavy hitters from here on out. Mortal Kombat 2, I mean, what can I say? This is a landmark 2D fighting game. It took the gritty, dark fantasy vibes of the first game and like dialed it up to 11. Better stages, cooler looking characters, bloodier fatalities, and it's not just shock value. Like the aesthetic works, like the darker colors and the grit and grime of this game works so well with the Genesis hardware. That darker color palette pops in all of the right ways. But gameplay-wise, this thing is smoother, it's faster, it's far more balanced than the original. Sure, the AI reads your inputs like TikTok reading your SIM card. But playing against other people is amazing. It's so good. There's also, they've refined the combo system. It introduced grabs. There's better zoning. Overall, it's a major improvement over the first game. And when I covered this for the show, I talked about how bummed I was that the early Mortal Kombat games were so hard to play legally. But hey, Digital Eclipse just announced that they're fixing that with the Mortal Kombat, I don't know, compilation. I don't know what they're calling that thing. I don't remember off the top of my head. Sorry, guys. But now we're going to be able to play Mortal Kombat 2 again, and we're going to be playing it online. So I can't wait to get into Mortal Kombat 3 on the show and be able to play with my guests. But Mortal Kombat 2, yeah, man, this game rules full stop. It deserves to be here. At number 5, I have Vector Man. And yes, I think Vector Man is better than Donkey Kong Country. And I said it on that episode. I'm gonna keep saying it. I double down, triple down, quadruple down. We'll say it. I might say it again in a couple minutes. And so Sonic was engineered in a lab to compete with Mario. Vector Man is, yes, this is Sega's answer to Donkey Kong Country. Very much the same thing, but in my opinion is low-key a little more successful than what Sonic does. Donkey Kong Country has legacy. It has legacy behind it, even prior to it, and it has charm. That is what it's riding on. But Vector Man, as a game, has just good game feel. It's buttery smooth. The double jump, perfect. The shooting, satisfying. Transformations, there's a ton of them, and they're really creative. And they let you replay the levels differently and explore alternate paths because of it. The bosses, they're hit or miss. They get pretty gimmicky, but I would say at least they're more interesting. Unlike some other games, this isn't like some jump on the head 3 times snooze fest over here. Nor are you repeatedly fighting the same bosses over the course of the game. And backtracking to the environments, again, and just visually speaking, I mean, they're gorgeous. I mean, this is a pretty beautiful game. A lot of subtlety to it. I remember on the episode I talked about, I think it was maybe like the 4th stage. That was like, it was like this cave, but there was also a compound inside of it. So you get like this hybrid of nature and technology. And it's just like a masterclass in design. And the way that specific level, and even some other levels, where there's later on that introduce like elements of a rainstorm, there's just like really nice little subtle lighting effects that are going on, as if like this game had a lighting engine, but it doesn't, you know. And Vector Man himself, the sprite or whatever you want to call it, is incredibly well animated. No face on this character, but it is like more expressive than I would say half of the models in the PS1 library. And I don't even need the Donkey Kong Country comparison to even justify this. If you play Vector Man, you will realize that it stands tall all on its own. Number 4 here, and this is like getting into the territory where it was very hard for me to kind of rank these games. But yeah, number 4 I have The Revenge of Shinobi. And yeah, I mean this could have been number 1. Revenge of Shinobi, in my opinion, is like a peak Sega experience. Until the final 2 stages. Those are brutal, and actually they kind of suck. But before that, listen, Joe Musashi is not going to be stopped by anyone to save his girlfriend. Not by ninjas, not by soldiers, not by exploding dogs or nuns, not even by Spider-Man. Spider-Man, in this game, this is a copyright nightmare. And I absolutely love it. And just speaking to the gameplay, I mean, the movement is so distinct. Like, nobody double jumps like Joe Musashi. And that thing is very hard to nail, but it is deeply satisfying once you master it. I liken the double jump in Revenge of Shinobi to kind of like the way Simon Belmont moves, or the way Mega Man moves. It is something that's so distinct that like when you feel it, you're like, comparing it to other things. So, and the game gives you so many tools at your disposal. You get throwing knives, you get screen clearing magic, power-ups that are sometimes dangerous to the enemies, sometimes it's more dangerous to you, but blowing yourself up can be strategic. Just trust me on that one. And for such an early Genesis game, I mean, this game looks so good. The parallax scrolling in this game is wonderful. And, I mean, never mind about the soundtrack. This is Yuzo Koshiro. I don't think I need to say anything else about that. Revenge of Shinobi, and the cat is clawing at my chair. Can you please stop? Thank you, sir. Revenge of Shinobi is a total classic. And also a very good episode in the backlog. It's a very fun one, so you should go check that one out. At number 3, I have
Virtua Racing!
Virtua Racing Deluxe. I don't care if your name is Chris Copleen. This is one of the best racing games on the hardware. Yes, technically a 32X title. Yes, there is a Genesis version. You don't want to play that one. You don't. Seriously. Get help. This is peak Sega Arcade. Like, when I think about Sega racers, I think of Hang On, I think of Daytona USA, and I think of this, and I think the DX version of Virtua Racing nails like the arcade feel, and it even adds new cars and tracks that don't feel like filler. They're not phoned in or anything. Like, they're actually good and they feel like they fit the flow of the game. My only real complaint here is that there's no soundtrack. None. There's nothing here. It's just vibes and tire screeches. It's a little weird. And yeah, polygonal graphics, they're not going to be for everyone, but I feel like if people can call Mario 64 a looker, you can't really knock Virtua Racing. At number 2, it's Ristar. And I'm still a little shocked from doing the research on that game to find that Ristar not only came from Sonic Team, but was basically like the abortion of the ideas that were going around the laboratory when they were designing Sonic the Hedgehog. And it's like, how did this get one brilliant release and then disappear while Sonic just got a dozen of very questionable sequels? One that even appeared on this list. Yeah, on paper, like, stretchy arms as like a main power-up and game mechanic kind of sounds dumb, but I think Sega does a very good job at squeezing a ton of creativity out of that. Unlike Knuckles Chaotix, the physics and the level design actually work. They're kind of similar now that I think about it. Whipping Ristar around levels feels really good, and every object in the world feels built around that. It's sort of like Super Mario Bros. 2, but like on steroids. Gimmicks that support the core mechanic instead of distracting from it. Boss fights, too, they're all unique and all play to Ristar's strengths. There are gimmicks here that support the core mechanic instead of distracting from it. The boss fights in this game are so good. They're all unique and they play, again, to the core strengths of Ristar's mechanics. And the final boss might be my favorite on the show so far. It is such a good fight. And again, I'm talking about visuals. I think all of the games on my list so far are stunners, and this is no slouch. We got bright, bold, beautifully animated sprites. Ristar himself is expressive as hell, and the stages are gorgeous. They just pop. Unfortunately, I can't remember the soundtrack, which isn't like, that's never good, but I don't remember hating it. So there's that. So yeah, Ristar, my number 2 Sega game here. This was my number 1 for a very long time. When I knew that I was going to do an episode like this very early on, I was like, yeah, Ristar, number 1. I don't think anything's going to beat this. But then I played this game. Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Just Sonic the Hedgehog 3, that's it. And I know some of you are thinking like, oh, what about Sonic and Knuckles? They're one game, you have to include them both. No, they're not, and no, I don't. They're basically different teams, different personnel worked on both halves of those games. and clearly had different goals in mind. And honestly, in my opinion, adding Sonic and Knuckles to Sonic 3 hurts Sonic 3, and I said that in my Sonic and Knuckles episode. If you put Sonic and Knuckles onto Sonic 3, I feel like it makes the game entirely too long. There is such a thing as too much Sonic, no matter how good it is. In my opinion, I feel like the pacing in Sonic 3 just by itself is perfect. This is like the first Sonic game where the level design actually respects Sonic's movement. Everything flows so naturally. And the same thing I said about Hyperstone Heist in regards to its levels and the story it was telling applies here. This is kind of when I first really started to notice that. Because the transition between acts is perfect, and the way that the story is told through these visual elements, through these level changes and the character animations is done so well. You know, and I brought up the bonus levels in Knuckles Chaotix. You've got the blue sphere stages here for the first time, and they're like some of my favorite bonus levels in a Sonic game, and I'm very good at them. Frighteningly so. You'll never see me concentrate harder in my entire life when I play those stages. I love them. And the soundtrack, I mean, come on, you guys, it's Michael Jackson. I mean, every track is a banger, even the bad one. And when I say bad one, I mean, I'm talking about, is it Carnival Nights? Is that Sonic 3? I don't like that one. I feel like that one is mid, as the kids would say. But I mean, I feel like no matter what, this soundtrack is absolutely untouchable. And it was like one of those situations where I've always had the urge to keep playing this after I played it for the show. Like, I've always had Sonic 3 on my mind. Like, when I was playing Jurassic Park for the podcast, I would play that for a little bit and then put it down and then go play Sonic 3 instead. And I beat both of them around the same time. Except only one of the games I ended up liking. And it was Sonic 3. So, yeah, it's no doubt my favorite Genesis game. And I think I'm just as surprised as you to see Sonic in the number 1 spot. One Sonic game at the bottom at number 10 and one up top here. I guess you could say this is I was going to say you could call it a sandwich, but you might call it a chili dog. I won't apologize for that. All right, before we seal this thing shut, here are my top 10 4th gen Sega games one last time. At number 10, I have Knuckles Chaotix. At number 9, I have Disney's Aladdin. At number 8, I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Hyperstone Heist. At number 7, I have Toe Jam and Earl. At number 6, I have Mortal Kombat 2. At number 5, I have Vector Man. At number 4, I have The Revenge of Shinobi. At number 3, I have
Virtua Racing!
Live With It. At number 2, I have Ristar. And number 1, my number 1 Sega Genesis game, I think of all time, is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And that's it, guys. That's the end of my Sega coverage. For now. After nearly 2 years, which is basically half the life of this podcast, we've hit end credits. There's been a lot packed into this stretch of episodes. And some of it's really fun to look back on, playing through all of these games, figuring out what still holds up, what doesn't, and trying to make sense of all of that. But there's a lot of personal stuff behind the scenes that was happening while I was doing this stretch of podcasting. And a lot of that is tied up in the past 2 years. Yeah, I took a bit of a break in the middle of all this. I was not in a good place. And honestly, I didn't know if I was ever going to come back to this at all. But I'm here. And it means a lot to me that you're still here listening, whether or not you've been here with me from the beginning or just jumped on somewhere along the way. Thank you. But yeah, overall, I feel like having played through all of these, this era of Sega, is chaotic, incredibly experimental, and very infuriating sometimes. But I think that's what makes it very interesting. And you can tell that there's a lot of heart put into some of these games. And revisiting it now, not just as a gamer, but as someone who's gone through a lot of life in the meantime, a lot of this stuff does hit a little differently. And these 10 games in particular, I think, have become a little bit more than games for me. They've kind of become markers for everything that I was kind of pushing through behind the scenes. And to be honest, I'm glad I'm still here. I'm glad I saw this entire thing through. And moving on. Because of course, the main quest moves on. Yes, the Sega chapter is closed. Again, for now. And it's time to turn this page. I'm going to be blowing the dust off my Super Nintendo. And next week, firing up F-Zero. So if you like Mode 7, blue skies, and futuristic vehicles that control like shopping carts on ice, I think we're going to have a good time. Until then, see you, Space Hedgehog.